Today I want to go over a topic I've been thinking about doing a video on for a while. Basically, I've been catching alligator gar for about 6 years now. 5 years I've been guiding, and I really feel like it's time for somebody that actually cares about the fish to make a video that's a comprehensive guide to catching these fish, catch and release. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do today. Like I said, I've been doing this for about 5 or 6 years. I've caught a lot of gar, tens of thousands of them. There are people that consider my handling to be the best of anybody in the world. So my goal today is to get somebody that has never caught a gar before where they can get out and catch their own alligator gar. Alright, I'm going to take y'all through 3 different methods today to catch alligator gar. The first one is going to be my tried and true hook that I've been using for about 2 years now. This is that hook. It's a Gamakatsu SL11-3H. This is a 4.0 hook, and it's made for penetrating tarpon and marlin's mouths, so you can definitely handle the task that we're trying to do with catching alligator gar. I wanted to just show you all this. So the treble hook right there is a 3/0 treble. That's considered to be like the normal catch and release hook by most of the guides. So basically what I did with my J hook is I took 1 point from that treble, and I'm just using this. You can't just stick this in your bait though, you have to do it a little different, so I'll show you that here in a second. So I just wanted to show you all my leader real quick. So I'm using a 135-pound leader. This is 7-strand coated wire. You want it about 4 feet long. You want your leader about 4 feet long. You can see right there. Mine's somewhere in between 3 and 4 feet, which is plenty long enough for gar. This is my Dio Alexa. This is one of my favorite reels for catching alligator gar. You can use all sorts of different kinds of reels for alligator gar. You can use heavy spinning reels, you can use heavy conventional gear, really whatever you want. The biggest thing with alligator gar is you want really heavy line. This is 150. I would suggest anything from 100-pound braid to 150-pound braid is really going to be your best bet for it. Whenever you're getting ready to rig, I always fish a slip float. I'll show y'all real quick how to put that on. Okay, so you're going to put on a bead first, and then after that you're going to put on a float. And after that, tie on your leader with a good knot. I prefer an improved clinch knot with 10 wraps. Finish your slip float. You're going to want to go about 12 feet past where your swivel is, right about here somewhere, and you're going to want to tie another line around your line. Just take another piece of braid. We're just going to tie it around our main line. The reason why we do this is so that it makes the slip float stop. Basically, the slip float doesn't suspend the bait, it just lets you know where the gar's at. And there's our knot on the main line. So I want to talk about why I decided to do this video. Basically, the guides have controlled the conversation around alligator gar and alligator gar conservation for the last 20-30 years. And I don't really think that's right. I think that everybody should get a say. This is a shared resource. I mean, it's more than that, but everybody has a say when it comes to alligator gar, and there's a lot of people that don't want them to be hurt. So what I'm trying to do is take the power from the big guy and give it to everybody. That way everybody can come do this. And it's time to talk about gar baits. This is what I brought for bait. This is a common carp. This is a great bait for alligator gar. I've got it in ice, which is really important. Your bait needs to be really fresh. So you're going to want to take a sharp knife and cut this into chunks. I'll show you all kind of how I do mine. Okay, here's my chunks of bait. They got a little dirty, but this is about the size you're looking for, about a handful That's about right. We're gonna do one more thing before we throw them out. We're gonna get rid of this point right here. There's no reason to put this out for a gar to get in its stomach. Here we go, we're just gonna clip this, take that off. I'm just gonna cover some of the baits that you could use for alligator gar. In Texas, anything that's a game fish you can't use for bait. So the main baits that we use are carp of all species, so basically common carp, grass carp, buffalo of all species, river suckers, gizzard shad are really good, freshwater drum are really good, tilapia is another one that you can use. If you're messing with coastal gar, I would look at big horse mullet for bait, and then also sand trout is really good. You can actually get them to eat the saltwater catfish too if you cut the fins off. So I wanted to take y'all over to my spot real quick and show y'all why the gar are here. So if you look up about as far as you can see the river goes really shallow and it pushes into rapids. And those rapids push around on this side of the bank, going straight by right here. And what happens is it makes an eddy where all these bubbles just kind of peel back and go in a circle on the other side of the river. Whenever you have that happen, that's pretty much your textbook gar spot. Big old gar are gonna be right there underneath those bubbles, right in that eddy. So that's where I'm gonna go put out my baits. All right, earlier I said you couldn't just stick this hook straight into the bait, so I'm going to show you how I rig it. Basically, this is just rigging floss with This is just rigging floss with a knot in it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pass this rigging needle straight through the bait. Once you get to about here, you're going to grab one side with your hook, and then you're going to go and you're going to grab the other side. Spin that a couple times, grab it again, spin it one more time, grab one more time. And that's how I rig for alligator gar right there. Basically all I've done is I've replaced the treble hook so I can use a smaller hook and not have to put a huge treble inside of them. Alright, I came over on the eddy side. I've seen a couple of huge gar. I'm going to go ahead and get my baits out. I'm going to get a couple. I've got two rods right now. They both have that same hook I already showed y'all. I'm going to put one below me and one a little bit further up back in this eddy that y'all can see. Okay, bait number one. We're just going to leave that free spool. Leave it up here somewhere. Second rod right here. Put this one back this way. Ooh, almost lost a bait. So caught like a 30-pound catfish. Just trying to pull it up on the bank. My rod shattered. Sad. Down to one rod. Alright, it's been a little slow since I had to go down to one rod, but I do think we got a bait picked up. Alright, we're getting a run, guys. I don't know if y'all can see out here, but halfway out you can see my slip float showing us exactly where that gar is as it runs around. Alright, it's really important when you get a run to give the gar a little bit of time. If you watch these fish feed in captivity, they'll pretty much sit holding a bait for about 5 to 10 minutes, just kind of moving it around, munching on it before they'll actually put it in a place where you could set the hook on them. A lot of people ask me, you know, how long do you wait to set the hook? It's actually a bad question because no situation is the exact same, but it could be anywhere from 30 seconds to, 10 minutes. Really what you're looking to have happen is you want your gar to run down current, stop, and then come back up the river towards where she picked up the bait from. It can be good to watch a little bit, even if they are going up, just to kind of see what happens, because sometimes they can split off back down the river or go across the river. I want to show you this. So there's my slip float right there, just cruising by. The reason why we use this is I can tell exactly where our gar is. She's within about 12 feet of that float, so she's about down 10 to 12 feet right now. Another reason why it's really good to have it is if I go through a snag, I could actually cut that off, find the float again, retie it, and catch a fish I couldn't have caught otherwise. Alright, I don't know if y'all remember what I said, but you're looking for your gar to go upriver. I've only been following this gar for about 45 seconds, and she's already right now come right back to where she picked up this bait from. She's already going upriver, so I'm probably going to give her about another 30 seconds just to try to figure out where she's going, check my drag, and I'm going to try to hook her up. As I waited for a little bit of time, I'm going to go ahead and set on this fish. So it's really important that you use at least a 7-foot rod. I'm using an 8-foot rod right here, and use a really hard hook set. So I'm gonna see how good of a hook set I can give her. Yeah, that's a good fish. Notice there, I only set one time. Big. Yeah, that's big. Oh, guys, look at that. She's just taking me. We're about to steer it. Oh, she's so strong. All right, so that's about 5 foot, somewhere around there. There's a bigger fish right there. Cool. All right, this is actually the perfect size fish. This is a good size. Woo! Okay, so I took my gar to a bank, and I'm not gonna use, you can see the bait there in her mouth, she's hooked in the mouth. I'm not gonna use a rope for her. I'm pretty much just gonna leave her right there. Alright, I don't know if y'all noticed, but I just came in on the outside and I'm just kind of pinning her up in here. There's really nothing holding her here other than me. So here's our gar. I went ahead and had to clip her, which I didn't want to do, but I can't film a de-hooking with just myself, because basically what I do is I get the top jaw right here and I get the bottom jaw, I open it, and I have another person de-hook while I'm doing this. So I had to cut my leader, which I don't feel great about, but the hook I'm using cannot puncture the air bladder of this fish. Basically what happens when you use too big of a hook, you puncture the stomach and the air bladder, and the fish can no longer regulate its depth in the water, and you've essentially killed it. So I think it's really important to keep these fish just low in the water, let them get back the oxygen, and let them disperse that lactic acid. If you pull them out of the water, their chances of going back and being okay are diminished. I'm gonna go ahead and let her go because she's ready. And there she goes right there, guys. All right, you might ask yourself, catching dinosaurs, did you just leave a hook in that fish? The answer is yes. There's not much I can do about it. By myself, I can't de-hook her. Which leads me to method number 2, which is, if we can't get the hook out, let's use a tiny hook. I fish these when I have little gar around. Basically, this is a tuna hook. It's a 1/0 Gamakatsu live bait. Here it is. We're gonna use this tiny little hook the exact same way we just used the other hook we used. And seriously, I'm gonna take this out into a hole I'm seeing 7-footers and I'm gonna catch a gar on it. We've caught 3 over 7 foot on this tiny little hook. All right, here's my bait ready to go. It's about the right size bait with my tiny little hook on the top. I left my bridle a little bit longer for this one. And nice big long leader. Hopefully y'all can see that. And yeah, I definitely am not gonna hurt a gar if I hook her with this tiny little thing. That's for sure. I've had this hook break in half, so I wouldn't use max drag when you set the hook, that's for sure. A little bit so I could cast a little better. And here's my bait. I'm gonna get it out. You can tell I'm actually using the tiny little hook that I say All right, now that we got our bait out, we're pretty much gonna use the exact same technique that we used on this last fish. We're gonna wait for a run, let it go downriver, stop, go up the river, make sure she's going up, give her about 30 seconds, and then set the hook on her. So I wanted to talk about why you would use this smaller hook a little bit. I think it's really good if you have like a bunch of long nose in your spot and you're worried about hurting them if they take your baits. Obviously that bigger hook wouldn't be good for them. It also works really well for catfish. And also I think it's really good if you have like a little bit lighter gear where you don't want to put out that really big hook on it. For me, I brought out like my medium action gear, and I think it's perfect for it. Alrighty guys, we're running again. I just had an absolute giant roll by the kayak. It's not the one that's running, but you know. On this little hook, we're going to employ the exact same tactics as we did on the last one. Just going to follow her around and be patient. Currently she's right here in front of me going downriver. Here she is, you can see the float just coming on by me. And that's my cue to be patient, let her do her thing, let her get that bait in a good place where I can hook her in the mouth, the back of the mouth, or deep if I have to. Currently I'm just following her, she's right here ahead of me, headed for the fastest current. I'm gonna try to keep about this distance, about 20 yards or so. Alright. So I turned the camera back on, but what I said was gonna happen, happened. She never even stopped, she just went down, turned around, now she's coming right on back up the river. More than likely, this is a big fish. We are gonna be patient though, since we're using this little hook. Alright guys, I think I waited long enough. Honestly, I'm terrified. I'm pretty sure this is a giant. Watch it be tiny, but my heartbeat is going crazy right now. So I'm gonna try to hook her up. It's a big fish on the little hook. Yeah, it's a big one. Oh. 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 That is strong. She's so strong. Oh. 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 Told y'all this is a big fish. It's a giant. Ugh, don't spit that, please. No, she dropped it. My hook's still perfectly fine. She had it down to right here and she spat it at me. That could have easily been a 7-foot fish. Considering everything's totally ready to go, I'm just gonna go over there and put it right on back out. All right, so that hurt. We're using the little 1/0 live bait hook, and hooked a giant. Could have easily been a 7-foot fish. She towed me all over the place. I really didn't even raise her at all, and she head shook a few times and she threw that after like a 3 or 4 minute fight. I'm gonna try to show that I have confidence in this hook, and I'm gonna throw the exact same thing I had right on back out and see if we can get another one hooked up. Alright, I don't want to get too excited, but we're getting another run on the little tiny hook. Alright, the chase is on. Here's my fish right here. I'm just going to follow her around. Had I given that last fish a little bit longer, I probably would have caught her, so I'm probably going to wait and be patient for this one. Alright guys, I think we should be good. Get the butterflies again. I'll wait until she pulls tight and then I'm going to set. What? Don't spit it, please. Alright, we hooked another huge fish. Oh gosh. She's so strong. She's so strong. This reminds me of old cobia fights offshore. Oh, look at, oh. Okay, she's not that big. She's a good size though. Golly. She's surprising. Surprised she could fight that hard. She might be a little bigger than I think she is, considering she's just doing whatever she wants. Oh, okay, she's huge. Okay, I gotta get myself there because I don't want. Ooh. Yeah, take me across the river. A better bank over there. I'm right next to a giant, guys. That's at least 6.5 foot or so. She's huge. She's just towing me around like nothing. Alright, so here's kind of my technique. Normally in the boat, I would rope her and then I would take her to a bank with the motor. But since I can't do that, I'm just paddling with one hand and I'm gonna get myself to a bank that's Ooh, almost lost the rod. But since I don't have the boat. Ooh, that's a giant. I'm gonna let her tow me, and I'm gonna paddle myself to a better bank over here where I can actually land her. All right, I'm gonna teach y'all a valuable technique to land a gar. You're gonna go through the back of your rod with a lasso. This is a youth lasso. You're gonna come down to your fish. You're gonna go over her pectoral fins. Don't do this unless you're past your pectorals. Once you get it there, go ahead and, there you go. And I got this gar lassoed. So I could just totally rip her up on the bank, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna leave her about right here. She's gonna be most comfortable if I do that for her. That's a big fish. So I'm gonna go ahead and clip the wire as close as I can get it. All right, here's my fish, guys. I got this on that tiny little 1/0 live bait hook. This is honestly a 130-pound fish or more. I'm gonna get her to where she's swimming. Ooh, there's a nice drop off right there. She's swimming. I'm gonna get this off of her. There we go, guys. Just like that. Back to her river. You can see her still a little bit. All right, if you made it this far, you might be thinking to yourself, yeah, small hooks are fine, but I still really don't want to leave a hook in a fish. And if that's the case, I like you. You're a cool person. So I have an answer to that. We don't have to use the hooks at all, and this is how we do it. Basically what I've done is I've taken a loop of wire and I put a swivel that'll slide down. And basically I've zip tied my bait right here. Alright, so this is a gar lasso, and basically what happens is when a gar comes along and grabs the bait, I'm going to set the hook and we're going to snare down around the end of his nose just like that. Do the same thing one more time. The gar grabs it, it's just going to snare on down right around his snout just like that. Okay, so I brought my gar lasso out here into the middle with my kayak. I left my rod over there on the bank. And I'm just gonna feed this down on the bottom. If you wanna be able to throw it, you could tie this swivel to the other swivel with a rubber band, and then when you get a bite, you just have to break it when you set the hook. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this down. And that little float that's on there is gonna keep that wire upright. All right, I'm back in my spot. I've got my snare out. Realistically, I might not be able to film this part of this tonight. It's already getting dark. I'm probably gonna be paddling back at nighttime. I got my 360 light though, so it's not a big deal. I'm just gonna see if I can get one more in the snare. That way I can show y'all how it works. I may very well film an entire episode on just the gar lasso. All right, we got our run on our lasso. We're gonna go ahead and try to close it on it. I got it on the lasso. Oh, it's a giant. All right, well, my lasso didn't quite close all the way. That was obviously a big fish, but it's getting dark, so I'm probably gonna get out of here. Hopefully watching this will help you get on the water and get yourself a big alligator gar. I realize I didn't get one on the lasso, but hopefully I can show y'all that it is possible for it to work. I did just get a really insane run there at the end, and I'm gonna put a video into trying to get it on the lasso. Really appreciate you guys watching. If you enjoyed, or have any questions about anything I said or really anything at all, just leave me a comment. Thank you. I want to add real quick, if you're going to come out here and you're going to try to catch these fish, I really hope that you choose to release them. There's really no reason to kill these fish, especially when they're huge like that. That bigger fish that we saw today was easy 30 years old, and the ones we lost right there, we had 2 that could have easily been 7 foot or bigger, which, you know, those fish can live up to 80, 90 years old. So, you know, if you're going to come out here, take care of the river, take care of the fish, clean up your trash. That's it for me.